Hey everyone, welcome again to my YouTube channel, and today we are going to solve a new question from our top interview and video question series. And the question title is minimum size Subarray sum. So let's read this question first. So we have been given an array of positive integers nums and a positive integer target. So we have the two values, first is num and second is target. We have to return the minimum length of subarray whose sum is greater than or equals to target. So what we need is that we need to find the minimum length of the subarray of this nums integer array whose sum is greater than or equals to target value, which is already given in our question. If there is no such subarray, you have to return 0 instead. So now let's understand with the example and also understand the approaches. So here I have taken the example from our first example in the question, and the first thing which we'll understand is that what is a subarray. So subarray is simply a continuous set of the nums. So it is always being continuous set in between the nums in the correct order. So if you see that if you take the first three elements, it is going to be a subarray. If you take the last three elements, it is going to be a subarray. But if you remove the second element and you take first and third element, then it is not going to be subarray, it is going to be subsequence. So sub array concept is already been clear to you. Now let's move on to the approach what is going to happen in this question. So if you clearly see that what we need, that we need the set or subarray, so summation is greater than target, greater than equals to target. So if you see that if you start in this nums, if you start by adding one by one starting, the first subarray which is going to be greater than our target value is going to be 2 plus 3 plus 1 plus 2. So this is the first subarray which is going to be greater than our target value. And what it is length? Its length is 4. Now this is the first what we have got. Now we have two situations. First, what we need is that we need to decrease this. That means we need to decrease this length. We need to decrease this 4 to, you can, it is possible to be 3 or a 2, or maybe it will finally be a 4 only. But we have to decrease it, or it can be less. So what we can do is that you can delete the first element from this subarray. So if you delete this element, what you have done, you have decreased this value. So if you decrease this value, you have to check if our target is satisfied or not. That means our, if our summation is greater than target or it is become less than target. So we have two situation. If our summation has become less than target, so what we have to do is that we have to move to the next index and we have to increase this value. But let's first see the second condition. That means let's assume that our target is already satisfied. So if you can see that if the target is already satisfied, what will happen? We will get a value which is less than which is less than the previous one. That means you will get 3, which we require. So this is the approach which we are going to follow. Now here what happens is that if you delete 2, you will get 3 plus 1 plus 2, which is less than target. That means it is equals to 6, which is less than target. So now what we will do, we will increase this value by moving into the next values in the loop. That means you will add 4. So if you add a 4, what you will get, the value which is greater than target. Now its length is again 4. So we have been 4 only, we have not able to decrease our length. Now if you see that if you now try to decrease your length, that means if you remove the first element, so what will happen, its length is going to be equals to 3, and you can clearly see that the summation is going to be equals to 7, which is satisfied. So you can see that we have successfully changed our length minimum equals to 3. So if you get 3, now again what you will think, you will again think in the same way that can we decrease this value from 3 to 2. So what you will do, you will again delete the for next element. Now you will left with the 4 and 2, whose summation is equals to 6 and which is not greater than equals to target. Now what we have to do, we have to check for more loop element which is left. So now again we will add 2, 4 and 3. So we have added 3. Now you can see that summation is now greater than our target. So what we will have the length, and here length is equals to 3, which is already equals to our minimum which has been stored in our answer. Now what you can see that again if you delete the first element, what you can get is that 4 plus 3, which is going to be greater than equals to target. So we have again reduced our length to one value and we have get our minimum equals to 2. Now again, if you try to delete it, because we every time we need to decrease it or we want to decrease our answer. Now again, if you try to delete it, you will see that the value is less than our target value, and there is no next element present in this nums integer array to add to this sequence. So this is going to be our final or end of the loop, and the minimum value which you have achieved by this is going to be 2. Now this is the overall approach which is we are going to follow, and this is a sliding window type problem, and let's see how we can solve this problem. So let's start by taking the size of our nums vector. So let's take L equals to nums dot length, nums dot size. Next, what we need, we have to declare two pointer I equals to 0 and j equals to 0. These two are going to pointer. First, I is going to run through all the nums, and j is the pointer which is going to delete our element from the previous. Now, next we need some variables. Let's take first variable as our answer, which is going to be int max. Why are taking int max? Because we have to store minimum in this ns. So we have taken first int max. Now next we need to store our count. So we will take count equals to 0. And at last we need to store the summation till the process. So for that we can take, let's take temp and let's take equals to 0. Now let's start the for loop, and for int I equals to 0, I less than l, I plus plus. What we need to do is that we need to first increase our count, because at the I equals to 0 you already are at the first index and you have two values. First you have count and you have sum. So we have to increase our count. So we will increase our count plus plus, and we have to increase our sum which is temp. So we will do temp plus equals to nums I. Now we check if our value which is temp is greater than equals to target. So if this value is greater, what we will do is that we will run a while loop again, and this while loop is going to move our j pointer. So what we need to do is that we need to check until our j is less than equals to I, we have to run it, and another condition is going to be if our temp is greater than equals to target. If these two conditions are satisfied, what we have to do is that first what we need to do is that if they satisfy, that means we already have got our first min array. So we will store that value. So we will store our value in our ns. So ns is equals to minimum of ns comma our count. Now what we will do, we will delete the element present at the first position in our minimum array which we have achieved. So what we will do, we will write temp minus equals to nums j. So by this we have deleted the first elements. Now we have to move our j pointer to the next position, and one thing which we have to do, we have to decrease our count. So ultimately what we are doing is that we are decreasing our count in this while loop. Now in this while loop, what we will do is that until this condition is satisfied, we will run this loop and it is going to decrease our count value. And if it is not satisfied, it will move on and it ultimately add the next element present in this nums integer array as we have discussed before. Now finally what we have to do is that we have to check if our ns is equals to int max. That means the condition is never satisfied, so we have to return 0, and in else part we have to return ns. Now let's try to run this code. So it is successfully submitted. So this is the question for today, and this is a very good question for our sliding window problem. So that's all for today. Thank you.